In this video, we're going to talk about some of our mirror options for the S30 chassis. We got a couple varieties that we're going to go over in this video. We got some laid out here. We're going to talk about some of the features as well as some of the installation process. These are available from Skillard.com. Right here we have some of the mounts shown in raw aluminum, but they're also available powder coated black. With our trim mounted mirrors and our door mounted mirrors, they're made to work with the APR GT3 carbon fiber mirrors. We do have an option for the trim mounted mirrors with no holes, so you can use this mount, but you'd have to drill your own holes to make that work. So yeah, let's go into some of the features. So right here we have our door mounted set with our billet mounting backers, and so when you order these, they come as a pair. These two here are raw aluminum, but you can get them powder coated black, like I said. They also come with some custom gaskets that will go behind these. You'll also notice that the back of these, if we can get the angle right, are actually radiused, so they'll actually fit in the lip on the door on your S30 correctly. These are just some pretty basic backing plates that will go inside the door, and then we have this baggie here of provided hardware, so you'll actually be able to put this inside the door. You'll have the door skin, the gasket will go on the outside of the door skin, you'll put the mounts on the top, and then you'll actually use the socket head screws. Let me get it out of the bag so it's easier to see, but the socket head screws here to go through here and mount into the backer. Then we have some of the flathead screws here that you'll use to actually mount the mirror to the plate. So we'll go over a little bit more of that as we have it sitting on the car here in just a minute. So here we have the trim mirror mounts, and so we call these the trim mirror because they don't mount on the door skin itself, they mount around the trim. So these ones have the hole pattern for the GT3 mirrors, so you can secure them. They don't come in our hardware kit with the mounting screws because they come with these, with the APR mirrors. So when you get the mirrors, you get the screws. And again, these ones, just like the door mounted ones, you can buy just the brackets if you've sourced the mirrors elsewhere, or you can get the mirrors as a kit from us and get them all together. The reason we're providing different screws for the door mounted is because they just needed to be shorter for the billet backers. So anyway, and then this hole is here, so that way when you mount the mirror, you can still access the screw in the back of the stem, and when you tighten that, that helps prevent this from pivoting. So trim mirror brackets, it comes with 4 rivets to go into these holes to attach to the lower trim, and then it comes with 4 rubber bumpers, and once you've installed this on the car, you double stack the rubber bumpers on this inside lip, and that just helps to hold it snug so you don't end up with any type of vibration or movement. So that's the trim mirror option. Like I said before, there's an option with these holes deleted, so these 3 holes right here are not included, so that way if you wanted to just get the brackets and the hardware, you can, and you can pick any type of mirror you want and drill your own holes and mount a different mirror. So next, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these as they sit onto the cars. So this car we have here is a 280Z, and so we have the factory mirrors taken off, driver side, so they came with driver side, they don't come with passenger side. But like here, you can look right over here, this is another 280Z. 76, and you can see it's got a mirror, but that's an aftermarket one that's, you know, just been screwed in, thrown a couple holes in there. But the driver's side, unless it's had a bunch of extra holes added, would look like this, minus the dent, when you take that off. And so one of the things about these that are nice on the 280 is that these outer holes that we're going to use to mount actually will line up. So you have this one lines up with that, and then this one will end up in this larger hole opening. And with this backer on the inside, so you got to take the door panel off, door card, and you get this up inside. You know, it's easier with a second set of hands, so a helper, and to hold that in there. And then with this on the outside, the gasket behind it, you basically are able to sandwich that together, and you'll use the provided socket screws to run into those two holes to hide it, or to secure it. And once that's all nice and tight, you know, you can put door panels back on, do what you need to do. But then with this mounting plate here, you're able to screw on the APR mirror on and off. I can grab the one we have sitting behind me, you know, and so that will essentially be able to mount like that. I need to pivot it so it's straight, and it'll mount on there. And so like we had mentioned on our trim mirrors is that we give access to this so you can tighten it. And so one of the things you can do is, you know, adjust it, take these outer screws off, and tighten that down as tight as you need to prevent that from pivoting after you've got it set in position. Another option that we left, just in case you wanted it, was the fact that you can actually feed an Allen wrench through the back of this. But a little less convenient, because then you've got to drill another hole, and if you wanted to tighten it from the backside, you could, but it's a little bit hard to get an Allen wrench in there, and you'd have to do it before you put the door panel back on. So that kind of summarizes how all that goes together. When we're talking about the passenger side, if nobody's messed with it, you won't have any holes, and if somebody has, with aftermarket mirrors, then it's hard to tell what the hole spacing is. And so, especially if you don't have holes, what I like to do is I like to measure off the door and put the holes on the passenger side the same distance away as the driver's side, so that way my mirrors are even. Part of the reason that we made this plate as big as we did is to cover up a lot of hole variation. So if you ended up with a passenger side and somebody put an aftermarket mirror on there, and let's say your holes are this far apart, you know, you could utilize one of those or drill your new ones, but ideally you can cover them up without having to weld them and you know, do all the body work and stuff. So and then with the help of the gasket, you know, that should help cover that up so you don't have water dripping inside those extra holes. So let's go take a look at the passenger side. We actually have one that's already installed on that side, and so we can take a look at it. So here on the passenger side, we have this one mounted up, and one thing I wanted to point out is that the way this wedge works, and so it mounts like this. So you have this isn't flat, it's actually wedged, and the reason we needed to do that is because the pivot of the mirror would have made the mirror sit up at an angle like this when it was all the way down as far as it would pivot. So you make sure you put that the larger part of that wedge up top, and that'll set the mirror in the middle of its adjustment zone. And so yeah, here we have the passenger side one. It's tightened up. The mirror we haven't tightened up yet, but you can see how it all kind of fits in there. The radius fits into the curve right there, so it ends up being nice and flat, so you don't get any rock in it. And this is the billet backer door mounted mirror option that we have. Again, these are available from Skillard.com. You can get the bracket and backer kits with the mirrors or without the mirrors, and the billet piece is available in raw aluminum and black powder coat. If you have any questions, email us at sales@skillard.com. All right, so we've moved down the line here a little bit, and we're at 240. And so you can see on this one, it's got a bunch of holes in it. And I just wanted to make one more note about the door mirror mounting bracket is that these two holes, how I mentioned, they line up with the 280Z hole spacing. The 240Z, they're actually closer together. And this has some extra holes that were put in it for an aftermarket mirror. This I could just pop out. But basically, if I was going to install this mirror on this car, I'm going to use this back hole, still use my same mounting bracket and gasket. You know, I'm going to put this here and then mark where this front hole is, which is roughly here. Then I'll need to drill another hole, but you can kind of see here that whatever was going on here on this car, I could essentially cover all that up and have a nice clean mirror mount on here. And one thing that I like to also mention is that if it feels easier, you can actually use the provided foam gasket to position and mark where you want your holes. So if you need to drill both holes, say on the passenger side, you can use the gasket for that. Just double check that those holes line up with the center of this, because since it is a gasket, it can have some stretch to it. So before you drill, just make sure that they line up with the holes in the billet piece. All right, so here we're just going to kind of quickly go over how the trim mirror brackets mount. Essentially, you know, they wrap over the trim and they come down on this front piece of stainless right here. And so when you get this in position, you'll compress the seal that's up above and line this up along the bottom as well as, you know, that front edge. And then, like, you know, on my 280, which we provide the rivets, use an 1/8 inch drill bit, drill into here. I'll always do it with the window down just in case you don't want to accidentally drill too far and hit your glass. So always do it with the window down. And then with the little pop rivet gun, pop, pop, and that holds that in. We do have customers that have not wanted to drill into their stainless trim. And so what they've done is they've used like a little piece of 3M VHB tape and just attached it onto the back. So that way that can get attached right there. And so the other thing that we provide are these rubber bumpers. There's 4 of them, so you double stack 2 of them, and they'll insert inside this lip. We don't really find that there's any movement or vibration, but just to be sure, we want to make sure, because obviously right now it can move, but that's because I haven't actually secured the outside. You can pop it in there after you've attached the outside. Sometimes I find it's easier to put them on, then slip it over, then attach it on the outside. Once that's secured, sometimes we get asked the questions like, well, this is going over this seal, does this leak? There's also an interior seal. This car is missing it, but there's an interior seal here. And, you know, I've used the soap cannon and, you know, pressure washed and washed my car, and I haven't had any issues with getting water in there. But one of the features of these trim mirror brackets is that it elevates the mirror, and so sometimes it makes it a little bit easier to see. So we can close the door, and you know, this isn't an exact right position because I haven't secured it, but with the mirror here you can see it in contrast, the mirror mounting here versus here, and it just raises it up that much, and it also moves it forward a little bit. Downside is now I have these holes here. So like on my 280, I welded these and we body worked it before paint. We also sell a delete plate that you can put on there if you don't want to mess with that, but you just want to fill the holes. Comes with a gasket. Those are available on the website too. But if you're like, no, I want to have my mirrors on the door. Obviously, we've already gone over the door mounting option. So 2 options: the trim mount, the door mount. Just it really depends on what you want. With this trim mounted one, obviously once you put the APR mirror on there, you have to roll the window down, but then you can see through this hole. You have access to the pivot screw, so you can tighten that with it in place, and you know, get your mirror positioned to where you want it. There's a second screw up here to tighten, which this tightens to keep it from pivoting this way. We don't make the mirrors; they're from APR, but like I said, we do make them available in the kits, or you can buy them separately. So whether it's the trim mount, the door mount, with mirrors, without mirrors, raw aluminum, black powder coat, available from Skillard.com, and we're happy to answer any questions you have. Feel free to email us at sales@skillard.com.